Morena. Good morning. We've just gone 10 o'clock and we declare this meeting of the Community and Services Committee open. Very good morning to councillors, Cody Tucker, Lisa Guy and Matt Wong around the table, and to Esther and Barry online. Good morning. Nice to catch up and see you all again. To our General Manager, Ken Bailey. Morning, Ken, to you and staff that are present and other staff that are present. Thank you for attending this morning. Thank you for your continued good work. To John on my left, our governance advisor. Thank you for being here today, John, and the work that you do. And Guy, nice to see you here from the media, taking an interest. Thank you. First off, apologies. We have no apologies received. Deep request to me. Declarations, conflict of interest. Any conflicts of interest? No conflicts of interest. There's been no registrations in the public forum. Quite surprising. Matters lying on the table. There are no matters lying on the table. Confirmation of the agenda this morning. Resolution required that the agenda be confirmed with or without alteration. We need a mover and a seconder. Who would like to move that the agenda be confirmed? Okay. Lisa Guy, thank you. And seconder, Cody?
Yes, thanks.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. Just for those that are on the screen, if you just raise their hands when if you can hear us, beautiful, we'll keep an eye on you.
Aye.
Thank you. Confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Community and Services Committee held on the 3rd of July. Resolution required that the minutes of the meeting be confirmed as a true and correct record or as amended. Do we have a mover? Cody Tucker. Thank you, Cody. Seconder. Matthew Wong. Thank you. In favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Right, on to our agenda item number 1. Which is the Takato Queenstown Gardens Conifer Succession Plan. The purpose of this report is to consider approving Takato Queenstown Gardens Conifer Succession Plan. That the Community and Services Committee 1 note the contents of this report, 2 adopt Takato Queenstown Gardens Conifer Succession Plan, and 3 direct staff to enter a memorandum of understanding with the Friends of the Whakatipu Gardens and the Whakatipu Wilding Control Group and any future Queenstown Gardens stakeholders to record overarching principles of Takato Queenstown Gardens Conifer Succession Plan. Author of the report is Brianna, Parks and Planning Manager, and other staff members, so welcome to the table. Good morning all. Maybe Brianna, a little introduction to the other faces around the table here. Staff members for
Kia ora everyone. I just introduced, we've got Lee Rowley, who's our arborist consultant, who is the author of the plan, and we've got Steph, who's our QLDC arborist, and David Wood, from Parks Manager.
Cool. Just before we ask you to, if there's anything to add or take us through the first part of this meeting with your report, is that this Takato Queenstown Gardens Conifer Succession Plan is a pretty important document for this committee, considering the status amongst our local community of the Queenstown Gardens and their role in our community. So we thank you for the work that staff have done, and we'll just ask you to comment on the report or add anything that you would like to add here this morning. Thank you.
So, kia ora everyone. This morning we'd like to present the Conifer Succession Plan for the Takato Queenstown Gardens. The Parks team carried out community consultation on the draft plan, and once we received the submissions, we worked closely with the Friends of the Whakatipu Gardens, or FOG, to review all the feedback and agree on any necessary changes to the plan. The details of these changes are outlined in the report presented today. One of the key amendments is the inclusion of a reference to conifers in the title of the plan to better reflect its primary focus. As part of reviewing the submissions, it was agreed, together with FOG and the Whakatipu Conifer Control Group, that we would enter into a memorandum of understanding. The MOU will outline the overarching principles of the conifer succession plan and details how the parties will work together. A draft MOU has now been prepared and shared with FOG. The MOU is intended to support ongoing engagement, transparency, and collaboration throughout the life of this long-term project. The MOU sets out the spirit of the relationship and confirms that the following will be addressed: a shared approach to strategy and collaboration, clear roles and responsibilities, open and consistent communication, and the formation of a management group with representation from FOG and the WCG to oversee the plan's implementation and approve successional staging. Seasonal planting walkovers, and will include seasonal planting walkovers to assess progress and guide the next steps. A critical point to highlight is that no trees will be felled unless replacement trees have been already secured. And to address concerns raised by submitters who oppose the plan, trial planting sites will be established before any trees will be removed. This allows for a visual demonstration and assessment of the planting outcomes. The first planting will take place this spring, and we're planning on planting 72 trees. This includes both single trees and group plantings of natives and exotics. The second planting, planned in autumn 26, will include 93 trees. And we'll work with the groups within the MOU on this operation. That's right. We're also working with the community to explore how local businesses might be able to contribute to the program, both in funding operational aspects of the plan and supporting future planting. It's important to reinforce that this is a long-term plan spanning 60 to 80 years. It is intended to be slow, thoughtful, and responsive to the landscape and the community as it evolves. To further strengthen the plan, a revised resolution is being presented at today's meeting. John is going to share the proposed amendment on the screen with everyone. After talking with the Ice Arena, we realised further detail was required in the plan on stakeholder relationships. And we're proposing the following addition, which includes a statement about the MOU and that the plan will foster a deep sense of community ownership and stewardship by actively involving key stakeholders such as FOG, WCG, Bowling Club, Tennis Club, Ice Arena, and future stakeholders. So I'll get John to share that resolution so everyone can have a read, or we could read it out, Ferg, and then happy to answer any questions about the plan.
You got the,
Yeah, I'll put it up.
thank you.
Yeah, so we can read this out, or if you'd like to read it out.
You can read it out if you like.
So to say, the changes are in red here, and so we would like to request that the Community and Services Committee adopt the Te Karo Queenstown Gardens Conifer Succession Plan with the following changes. On page 15, second to last paragraph, we want to replace, so this is what's existing. Planting locations will accommodate existing infrastructure such as ice rink and the field team buildings to ensure plantings do not obstruct access, interfere with operations, or hinder maintenance activities like exterior repairs. And we needed to strengthen this to actually details what future works could happen, and we had stated the incorrect names of the field team and Ice Arena, so we've just corrected that in the replacement, which is in areas with existing infrastructure, planting locations will be carefully planned to integrate with facilities such as the Ice Arena and the QLDC parks buildings. These areas will feature mixed woodland with open spacious plantings to ensure unobstructed access, preserve window views, and support operational requirements, and avoid interference with maintenance or other infrastructure. And then the second, which are two additional expected outcomes on page 19 of the plan. So this is about the MOU, community and stakeholder engagement and memorandum of understanding. The Te Karo Queenstown Gardens Succession Plan will foster a deep sense of community ownership and stewardship by actively involving key stakeholders, including Friends of the Whakatupu Gardens, Whakatupu One, Conifer Control Group, Queenstown Bowling Club, Tennis Club, Ice Arena, and future stakeholders. Stakeholders will be kept informed as the tree succession plan and operational progresses, ensuring alignment with community goals and operational needs. And then just some more detail on the actual MOU, which a memorandum of understanding will be established to document the core principles of the plan, promoting ongoing engagement, transparency, and collaboration throughout the project. The MOU will outline how stakeholders will support the plan's operational components, including the formation of the management group to oversee implementation, make decisions on key milestones and hold points, and guide the principles shaping the plan's execution. This includes conducting seasonal planting walkover assessments to evaluate the progress and establishment of new plantings into plan subsequent stages of the project. Yeah.
Thank you, Brian.
Mhm.
Can we just scroll back up through you, Chair? We just need to take it out from the word risk, unless you intended for that to be. in the-
Oh, no, that was what we were replacing it with. So that was the amendment where we had,
Right.
yeah, and so it's now replaced with,
We can just informally.
I have a couple of papers.
Councillors.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we'll do is, for councillors, as always, through the chair, please, question time. I think it's, just before we get going, I think it's important as we move forward with this that I think, yes, we can refer to them as FOG, but I think for clarity, it would be nice to refer to them as the Friends of the Gardens and talk about them as the Friends of the Gardens. Questions, councillors? Lisa, yes.
Thank you. It may be addressed actually in the amendments that have gone in there, but was thinking through the whole points as far as if our trail planting and things, if it's not thriving, if it's not going, how can you describe to me what might happen? Can we slow it down? What the process is to reassess if species aren't working? How does that, some of the concerns I've had and questions from the community, what happens if what we're doing starts to not work and we keep going?
Yeah, and that's where we've set up that MOU, and we've actually got a draft now which we shared with the Friends, and we're going to meet with them next week just to go through that. But there's some really detailed whole points in there, and we will be meeting at a minimum twice a year, looking at what's happening and making a decision that, you know, and questioning the, you know, growth rates, etc., to say, you know, whether it goes forward or holds or slows down. So, and that's what they really want to see in there and be able to have a voice on that. And that's what we've now got within that document.
And so there'd be certain metrics to meet to say, yes, we were now at a stage of establishment of the replanting that we could take out trees.
Yeah, and that's what we'll work through with that management group in the detail in there.
Through you, Chair, Councillor, as Brian has said, that actual MOU is part of that whole point, and we're well informed by the community, particularly the stakeholder groups, about the need for this to be demonstrated that it has actually been applied to the plan and working and being assessed as Brian has outlined. And within that, you would expect, we're joined by Lee, who's the author and oversight on that plan. You know, that will be amended through maturity and on time, you know, over time. And you would expect that would form part of an amendment to that MOU, because clearly we're looking at a 60 to 80 year window. And I'm already appearing with a couple of greys in my chin. So we need to make sure whoever picks up the legacy has a really well documented track record of what's been done, what's been achieved, what didn't work, what did work well, and how we've taken that plan forward. That it's not just scribed in rock today, and that it actually matures with the way that that MOU's intended with the parties.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll go to councillor Whitehead online and then councillor Wong. Esther?
Thank you. Sorry that you can't see me. So mine was a kind of process question as well. Thank you for all of the changes that you made after the feedback. I just wanted to, I guess, congratulate you on doing that, because there's a lot in there. One of my questions was going to be kind of around what you've already answered now with this amendment, and that's the MOU. So I guess my question is are there, after you got that feedback and you made the changes, did you then go back to all stakeholders with the changes that you made to address that and then come up with this amendment together?
So I can speak to that.
Yes.
No, we didn't individually go back to stakeholders, but there are some that we have had further conversations, especially some like the ice arena, and we met multiple times with Friends of the Gardens to actually discuss these changes and look at changes within the plan. So to answer the question, while we haven't gone back to individual submitters, there are a few that we did reach out to just to clarify some points or to meet further to discuss the plan with, just to make sure that their understanding of the plan, they understood that it was fluid and an MOU was being drafted, and that's how we'd be working in the future, and to address some of their questions.
Okay, and sorry, I haven't got the full amendments on screen, but with regards to the MOU, you reference new stakeholders as well. So obviously that's great because this is such a long-term plan. I'm assuming that's why we've got that aspect in there. Clearly, council might look quite different in 60 years' time, and each of these stakeholder groups may look quite different. So was there some discussion with the stakeholders that you've spoken with regard to that kind of legacy issue, I guess?
And within the MOU, I think there's quite a few, I guess, points stating that this is a long-term plan, and staff will change and groups will change, and so it's acknowledging that and that it will be fluid to meet the, I guess, requirements in the future. So I guess we don't know what we don't know, but we have put some information in there to state that this may change and vary over time.
Yeah, great.
Just
Thank you.
Just for you, Chair, Councillor, having attended alongside the team one of the stakeholder meetings, yeah, it was truly described by that group, the Freedom from the Gardens, the importance of making sure the spirit of the plan continued through the legacy of the successional piece of work. So they were very clear that they did not want to find themselves at a keyhole point in the years to come, that this would get relooked at for any other reason if it was working through the intent of what's set out in this MOU. And the chair referred to that as the spirit of the plan and the ability to bring the groups together to ensure that we continue to get through.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Great work, guys. I'm trusting that all of the arborist work is fantastic because I'm not a plant person. So, and it usually is. You got some great stakeholders in there as well. So there is obviously going to be some really good oversight from some of those stakeholders. My question's around the funding. Speaking with Friends of the Gardens and Jay, his big concern was around funding, and we've got some of that addressed in the management plan now. Still quite brief though. I'm just wondering within the MOU whether there's been any discussions with Urban Commerce or Destination Queenstown, with Love Queenstown, to look at some of those funding avenues. I know it's briefly sort of touched on there in terms of other future stakeholders, but what's missing from that is actually other future stakeholders that could be potential funders and partners rather than operational. There's all those ones are invested either because they operate within there or they've been historically involved with the gardens. There is other stakeholders, obviously, that would love to be involved in this project, and we've talked about how visual and accessible this project is and how much it could grow as a collaboration with QLDC. Any thoughts to how this MOU could shape to include some of those at this early stage, or is it not worth doing yet, but intended to?
No, I think it's an important part, and we are in discussions with some of the groups that you mentioned to look at what opportunities are out there, but it's so early at the moment. But there are avenues through Love Queenstown that are working at the moment that maybe we could look to put a similar model in the gardens.
Yeah.
And I think the best place, probably not within Lee's plan, but to have that in the MOU. And the MOU at the moment is a draft, and so I think we haven't really spoken about funding within the MOU, but it's something that we can bring in.
And I'm just wondering, within the MOU, also take a lens of a potential funding partner within that MOU, because you've got future stakeholders there. But my vision would be the other future stakeholders potentially could be your future funding partners.
We are open to that, and I think that's why we've got future stakeholders. We can't name those stakeholders because, like Brian says, we're a little bit early to name.
Yeah.
But I think we're definitely open to working on that, particularly around the funding.
Yes, and the main thing is writing an MOU in such a way that
Hmm.
if a funding potential comes along, that MOU is still quite strong and holds up.
I think it's got that
Yeah.
flex, isn't it?
And through the chair, like the Friends of the Gardens are really keen to explore that avenue as well. And so I think that's where, as part of this drafting with them, with that next stage, we will make sure that there's these conversations about that within the MOU. More detail.
Spot on.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, Councillor, one of the elements too that teams work on is actually what is a device to set out the original intent, and an MOU is quite an interesting concept compared to an agreement or enshrined in whatever. And that's part of that is that flexibility that Dave and Brian have covered off as well. So, you know, we're well aware and yourself has a keen interest in that carbon offset and what's the potential of those sort of reinvestments that we're not dealing with at the moment that could potentially also have a funding stream into a project of this nature. So it's in its infancy, but that framework actually allows for future conversations, as Dave and Brian have touched on.
Right.
Thank you. Whereabouts does this golf fit in the stakeholders group?
So with the stakeholders that we've mentioned there, they're ones that have leases or licenses, and Disc Golf are still a stakeholder, and we have been speaking to them throughout this plan as well. And it's just such a slow plan, the progression of it, and so that's where we're thinking, you know, there will be effects at time, but I mean, stakeholders does capture everyone. They're not specifically mentioned there because there's a lot of other recreational activities we haven't specifically mentioned, but yeah, they are captured.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
We won't give you anything. Does anyone particularly?
I think, like you say, it is a very slow succession, and I think the group are aware of that, and it won't have much impact in terms of their activity support because operationally we might do removals over a short period of time, like 1 or 2 weeks, and then the rest of the year it's fine. And I think they were quite excited by the opportunity of like, well, we can move the course to shape what we want in the future in terms of how we plant and stuff. So I think we'll be working with those groups quite closely in terms of that operational aspect and the outcome.
Yeah, I'm sure the organisation's aware of their presence.
I think too, Chair, as Lee's touched on, you know, you look at the percentage of the plan being very purposely mapped out. There's a smaller footprint in operations, the closure of areas when you actually do work. And it also allows to make sure, you know, future impacts of weather, wind, you know, there's been some quite clever thinking gone into how you actually stack out that 12.5 hectares of the conifer replacement program over the next 60 to 80 years.
And maybe just add to that, Chair, is that the plan is deliberately slow and purposeful about that, and so it gives us time. But it is around meaning that the removals are done over a slow period of time, but it gives us time to work with those groups and works through things. Nothing's done in haste, and the MOU and working with the stakeholder group gives us an opportunity to work with those groups and bring them on over time, or they might leave because depending on the nature of their groups. Yeah.
Chair, could I just add to that? And it's a point Councillor Wong's raised. With him not being an arborist, qualified arborist, actually that's why we've been working with the likes of Steph and Lee. Because some of the feedback, of course, if you were just to take a look at that landscape, right now the conifer belt actually forms a hedge up to a 60, 80 foot, 100 plus foot hedge. But we know there's species within there that have actually grown to actually be within a controlled buffer zone from the wind, for example. So there's been a lot of thought in terms of how you actually progress this to maintain the maturity of some of the oak and all the other sort of species we've got established within that garden. So there has been a lot of work done around the elements that you've touched on.
Thank you. Any more questions from councillors? No? Just chatting to John around what's been presented and read. He's just advised that we just need to informally agree that that's what we want to vote on. Are we happy? Barry, Esther?
Yes, I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Barry? Not to hear Barry. Okay, we'll take that as a yes. Jon, you?
Yeah, sorry, Ferg, it was
That's
blocking
right,
my mic because of the whiteboard up, and I'm right. Yes, I'm happy.
Thank you. Happy? Yes, rightio. So what we'll do is we'll just ask for, before we go into seeing if there's any comment on the issue before we vote, but before that, we just need a mover and a seconder to see what's up on the board. I don't think I need to read that all again.
I'll move it.
You'll move it. Second, thank you, Matt. Seconder.
Yeah, we'll go for it, yeah.
Thank you, Cody. So if you wish to comment, you'll be last, okay?
Okay.
If you wish to comment. Any comments from councillors?
I've got a comment, but I have to go last, don't I?
There you go, first and.
I moved it.
Who goes last? Is it the mover?
Maybe usually.
Mover, sorry, Matt. Sorry, Cody. You can go first. If you want to make a comment, yes.
I'm happy to make a comment. Well done, and I can't technically formally address stuff. I think it's hugely courageous to do this, and I'm really proud that you're thinking so long term, but I also think there's a really thin line to walk when it comes to integrating community groups and getting this right. And I was just reading through, feeling very warm to the fact that the amount of depth and collaboration and thought that's gone into this, I just think is really outstanding, and just giving the community a sense of ownership and allowing it to evolve over time. I think it's done a great job. So I just wanted to say thank you for doing it in the way that you did it and for attacking it and being courageous, and really stoked that we are moving ahead with that sense of longevity and investment into the long-term future. So just
Thank you, Cody. Esther?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think the consultation showed some obviously mixed reviews, which we haven't really discussed in this meeting, but 23 in support and 17 opposed. I just think it's very complex when we're talking about large landscapes, cultural aspects of those landscapes. You know, everybody in the room knows this, but it's a challenge when we have forest plantations happening all over the country that are exotic pines, and we're proposing to take them away, and it becomes controversial. It's all, in my view, all for the right reasons. We're looking at ecosystems, not aesthetics, but bearing in mind aesthetics as part of ecological effects. And I think that I'd just like to reiterate that the changes that were made following the submissions, which obviously read all of them, are really good changes. So, you know, we heard that poor soils aren't always due to conifers, and the plan now reflects recognising that it's due to compaction as well. And there is strong support for native species, particularly like the rata and the kowhai. So I think it is a very brave decision to make, because in other districts it could be seen as quite controversial. I think we're looking across our whole district, and this project complements other projects that are happening. So long-term thinking is just incredible. And I guess I hear what Cody said around the fact that it is courageous to do so, in recognition that there were quite a few people opposed. So yeah, I want to just thank staff for the work that's been done, and I want to thank all of the stakeholders that have been engaged for an incredibly long time on this, and feel very, very strongly about the cultural values and the historic values in the gardens, which I think, we tread a careful line in ensuring that we maintain those values as part of this succession plan. So thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Lisa?
Thank you. Yes, I was just flicking back through the submissions again to remind myself of the community sentiment, and picking up on Esther's points of, you know, really conscious that with one person's gain or excitement about the future opportunities, somebody else in those submissions is going to feel a real loss and grief around some of the decisions perhaps. But I too wanted to reiterate that the 60 to 80 year foresight, and it made me think of those first people who planted the gardens back in the day, and that they had to have that foresight around an evolving ecosystem and what it might look like right now, but also what it might look like. And thank you to Friends of the Gardens because the kaitiaki and the stewardship there. And I was sad to miss the meeting that several of our councillors went along and spoke with them because I just think some of the submitters spoke about the peace and tranquility of being able to go into the gardens and get away from the projects and construction and things that are happening in our CBD. And I think, we've only got to look at how quickly change can happen as well, that when we come in and we take out these sections and then we replant. I just hope that we can continue with the really amazing intent you guys have put out there, that this is going to be a community collaborative project over many lifetimes to come. So yeah, agree with my colleagues. It's a brave call. It's a hard call. One person's opinion about whether a tree's at end of life may not necessarily match with our expert arborist assessments here. But I think it's not necessarily even down to just individual trees. It's about holding that big picture thinking around what are we looking after as an entire piece out there for generations to come. So thank you all for your work. Thank you to all the submitters, and really trusting that this is a long-term vision that we can manage sensitively to keep that calm, tranquil, soul renewing place that we've got out there. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Barry, you right?
Yeah, I'm all good, Ferg. Just would like to acknowledge that it's a legacy document, and it's quite amazing to think that people that aren't even born yet will have some input into the living document process. So well done to staff and people who have put the effort into making this happen.
Thank you, Barry. I've just got a couple of comments to make before I hand to Councillor Wong to wrap. I think the success of what's been started here will not be in the trees or the succession planting that happens. It's going to be, for me, in the collaboration of all those and the care and the respect that all stakeholders and those involved in moving this step by step through generations and generations into the future. I think that, for me, is going to be the success of this that we've started here this morning. Having recently interviewed a lady who wrote a book about Julia Eichhardt's arrival into the Wakatipu Basin, and reading the book and coming across one of her letters back to her mother back in Australia, she talked about William Gilbert Rees and Francois Saint Omer as the author, mentioned him, but St. Omer Park, but he was involved in it as well. She wrote back to her mother saying that William Gilbert Rees and Francois Saint Omer going out to plant some trees on the peninsula, plant some seeds. To be sitting here today, after interviewing this lady and being involved with this process, when I read that line, it was very moving for me because I was reading about the very origins of our gardens as those that foresaw that that peninsula could look like this. Now, we get to today where things have changed, and maybe what they planted is not what we need or whatever, but it was just the moment that struck with me about dealing with this subject through this committee. I share everything and support everything that the councillors have said here this morning, and look forward to getting it to the vote stage. Matt, for you to wrap.
Thank you. Not sure how to follow that one. So I'd like to propose we change this committee to the tree committee. Last 3 years, all we talked about is trees. That probably also speaks to the fact that we do know a lot about trees now. And I've spent a fair bit of time with staff and colleagues here as well, and the community, talking about the reserve management plans for Queenstown Hill and Ben Lomond. We're talking about the forestry plan at the moment for Queenstown Hill. And the general steer is we wanted a stronger vision about conifers, wilding conifers, and potentially the removal of those wilding conifers. Gardens is certainly no exception there, and the voice is saying we want to change the landscape there, but we want to do it respectfully, and obviously this is what this plan's doing. But I also think that this project in particular is a keystone project for the council. And I've mentioned it a few times, and the reason for it is accessibility. And everyone knows what it is, everyone wants their say on it. Now, there's a couple of ways we can approach this, and one way is the usual way, which is, we quietly fund it through rates, and we proceed as we usually do. The second option is, and this is what we have talked about with Friends of the Gardens and Jay, is make it a living, breathing project that the community gets behind, that they help fund, because when they fund it and put their own skin in the game, not just rates, they feel part of this project long term. And that brings in more than just, your average ratepayer. It brings in business community, which is quite powerful. And we've seen how they can step up and put their money where their mouth is when we ask them to. But it also connects with the youth. You're speaking about the ones that aren't even born yet. I talked to my son today about this project and what he thought would be a cool idea. And he said, well, and I talked about the zones, and he said, it'll be really cool if Queenstown Primary School could have a little area, and there's a park there and we all plant trees. And he's probably heard this before many times with projects. I thought, he's onto something here. This is an accessible area that everyone loves visiting. And wouldn't it be cool if all the schools engaged and it was funded by the business community in partnership with QLDC? And that story is far better than QLDC going out on its own, funding it by itself through your general rates. And no one really has that skin in the game. So that's what I would love to see happen. I'd love to see, the funding and engagement framework developed, which I alluded to in the questions earlier, which really scopes out the mechanics for people to start engaging in funding and businesses to start engaging in funding in this keystone project. And I really think it's going to be something that really lifts the spirits of this community. And goddamn, don't we need it. That's really it. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Well, what we're voting on is back on the screen, is it, John? It's been moved by Matt, seconded by Cody. All those in favour? Aye.
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 Opposed? Nobody? Carried. Thank you, staff. Very good work. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you.
Oh, there. That was a rare occasion.
14th August.
Yeah.
Took 3 years.
10:37. Righto. We move on to item number 2, which is the Chair's report. As in front of us, the purpose of this report is to provide the Community and Services Committee with an update on projects of interest. This is the first of the reports for the new financial year. Across the Community Services Group, they have continued to work with staff throughout the 24-25 financial year to program and deliver a diverse and wide-ranging program of work. I was just asked to recommend that the Community and Services Committee note the contents of this report. And I'll just take you through it. Of course, this is about informing those who might be interested about the level of commitment and work that's been done in the community and services space. And it's been very busy, continues to be very busy times for staff, and we acknowledge that. Now, just reading through my report, Valentine Road, which has been a big shift and a positive shift for the Upper Clutha community and for the region as a whole. Remediation works have been completed on site to clear the rubbish and other waste material. Resting of contaminated areas at the time of drafting the report is underway to ensure the quantity and cost of remediation is at acceptable limits. Following the assessment of the initial remediation, the parties will confirm the next phase of the site program commencing late July and early August. We take note of the work that staff are doing in that space, Ken.
Thank you, Chair.
In conjunction with the community board and key stakeholders, a program has been created to develop the pathway forward to re-engage the public about the future uses of the Valentine Road site. And this is expected to commence November 2025. Another big project that's been through full council and through this committee is the Queenstown Event Centre Indoor Courts and Fitness Centre project. 17th of April this year, council agreed to proceed with the concept design phase to provide 4 new indoor courts and a fitness centre at the Queenstown Event Centre. A request for proposal is in the market for project management services and for procuring a design team to begin the concept and preliminary design. Queenstown Event Centre stakeholder engagement and planning has commenced and will remain a key component and focus throughout the project. Can I just make a comment on those 2 items that we've just mentioned? One in Wanaka, one here in the Wakatipu Basin is a great 2 projects which are responding to calls and demands from our community around green space and sport and recreation, and what those 2 projects will deliver for our communities on both sides of the hill. Libraries, quiet one and a lot of what goes on within our communities across the QLDC, but one that's very, very important and a very busy part of community and services. Everyone is welcoming story times at Hawea and Wanaka on Wednesday, 23rd July, and at Frankton and Queenstown Libraries, Thursday, 24th. These have been successfully delivered. The Makarora story walk is completed. Good morning to Makarora. Good to know you're still out there, an important part of our community. They're attracting strong interest from the community and visitors through the region. Wanaka Library meeting room is completed. That's fully operational and available for community use. High demand there. The annual pop-up library program has delivered 3 successional events at the Wanaka Recreation Centre. And the library team are preparing for Library of Things Dementia Collection to be launched in September 2025 in response to growing demand for support services across the community. Scheduled digital drop-ins at all 8 library branches are in place and bookings continue to increase for this service. Parks, very busy department. Thanks staff and the team for all their work across this as well. The draft forestry management plan for Tapanui, Queenstown Hill, removing all wilding tree species on the reserve and replanting the site with a mix of native exotic forest and scrub tussock grassland. This is part of a wider plan to protect the district's landscapes and native biodiversity. Submissions closed on the 6th of July with 92 submissions received. 76% of submitters strongly supported the draft forestry plan. Hearings and deliberations were held on the 21st of July to consider changes to this plan. As a result of the submissions, the final forestry plan was considered for approval by council at the 4th of September meeting. Further information can be found here at the draft. 4th of September, is that the one there? It's 4th. Yeah. 4th of September, yeah. Gotcha. Development plans, the Arrowtown Riverside Reserve and Widgeon Park. Draft development plans for both of these have been completed. They were developed, drawing on the insights from early engagement with key stakeholders in April and May. Draft development plans were shared with key stakeholders in late July and will go out for community consultation on the 11th of August, so they've just gone out. Community drop-ins, which councillors have all been advised about, will be held to discuss the draft plans on the 26th of August at the Arrowtown Riverside Reserve and 28th of August at Widgeon Park. Te Taumata o Hakitakura Bead Lyman and Tapanui Queenstown Hill Reserve Management Plan, the Community and Services Committee recommended to Council approval of the final Reserve Management Plan at their meeting on the 3rd of July. This included changes to the Reserve Management Plan as a result of the submissions received. Council considered approval of the plan at their 31st of July Council meeting. It went through unopposed, I think. If memory serves me correctly. Thank you to Councillors Guy and Wong, who were part of the hearings panel, and the work that you both did on that. I thank you both for that. The Tiki Trail pedestrian bridge to enhance public safety, a pedestrian bridge reconnecting the cemetery area to the base of the Tiki Trail is being constructed, creating a safer separation between hikers and mountain bikers. The bridge will eliminate a known safety pinch point, which some of us have experienced. Where both user groups currently share a narrow section of track, improving safety for all trail users. The contract has been awarded with work scheduled to commence in August. Goat and rabbit control, an ongoing issue, but the goat control is underway in the Wakatipu area. Between July and September, the control is being undertaken by professional contractors using firearms. Wild feral goats cause damage to property, native vegetation and biodiversity. There can also be a hazard to traffic on roads and to track users, as I see every day, heading out to Arthur's Point. the goats that you have to give away to close to the end of the Cabell Bridge these days. Goat control has been targeted to the Matakauri Wetland, Queenstown Hill Reserve, Boytown, Ben Lomond Reserve, Fernhill and Watertank Reserve. Further information will be found QLDC goat control operations. Rabbit control is underway as well, with professional contractors using Pindone to reduce rabbit numbers. That's ongoing work, as we know, like the goats. Community partnerships, community investments over $525,000 has been granted to 58 groups with 7.1 million requested over 3 funding rounds. This was a successful funding series with workshops, built funding and planning capability for community groups and charities. Welcoming Communities, a newcomers guide was launched and promoted, distributed to relevant stakeholders and groups. Community wellbeing, great work being done in that welcoming community space. Community wellbeing, 500 Get Active passes have been used and a new funding round opens on the 1st of August. Creative Spaces exhibition is planned for the month of November. New initiatives include dog-friendly parking and homelessness support. Community associations, the Mayor and CE have completed visits to 6 small community associations. The May meetup connected up included chairs. There's been continued work to support collaborative projects with community associations and internal teams, including parks and P&I. The Responsible Camping Program, as we look towards another summer, wrap-up of the Summer Ambassadors Program was on the 27th of April. Responsible Camping Ambassadors worked 6,376 hours, surveyed 3,845 sites, and responded to 422 requests for service, the RFS system. 238 were requests for Freedom Camping enforcement. 184 were for the Responsible Camping team that spanned over 120 locations. I'd like to give a heads up and a wrap to those summer ambassadors, sometimes an environment that was a little bit uncomfortable for them. I thank them for their work. And the camping bylaw implementation, a new Freedom Camping bylaw is on track to be implemented by next summer. Council workshops were held in April, May, and community consultation is open until the 8th of August. Hearings and deliberations are scheduled for September with proposed adoption plan for the 9th of October. I'm sure there's a lot of interest from the community around where that one will go. So as you can see, a very busy time, a lot of work being ticked off, but a lot of work still in progress around or through our Community and Services Committee. We thank all the staff for the work that they do in this part of the organisation. And on that note, do we have a mover to accept the chairman's report?
Yes, I'll do it.
A seconder, Esther, would you like to second?
Great, yeah.
Thank you. In favour?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Nobody. Carried. Thank you. 14 to 11. Meeting closed. John, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Guy.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Vic.